Okay, get ready. Now we're gonna shake our little cotton tails. This is the way he shakes his tail. Shake, 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 shake. This is the way he shakes his tail on Easter Day.
Blackheart Mafia, the podcast. None of the statements made in this podcast are affiliated specifically with Joan Jett or Blackheart Records. This is a fan-based podcast, and all the statements should be framed that way. Individual thoughts and opinions from individual people, not connected to Joan Jett or Blackheart Records. Thanks a lot, and enjoy! This is Michael Nichols, and you're listening to the Blackheart Mafia podcast. You are lucky today. This is a special episode. It's our Easter special. At least that's what we're calling it. I had to come up with a name for it because it's like a special episode, because it's not totally Joan Jett focused. So that's what I'm landing on. Easter special, bonus Easter special. I'm honored to interview the legend SUZI QUATRO about her new record out called No Control. I remember when I was a kid, this is before I discovered Joan Jett. I was between 6 and 7 years old, and my dad watched Happy Days. And one day I was in there for some reason, and Leather Tuscadero bops up there, and with her jumpsuit on, and Fonzie's. I was fascinated with it, and I stopped in my tracks. And I think my dad remembers that moment. Leather and the suedes. Anyway, I was mesmerized. I thought she was the coolest thing ever. That was SUZI QUATRO. I rediscovered her after I became a big Joan Jett fan because Joan was inspired by her. So I went back and started listening to SUZI QUATRO stuff and found out some stuff. Although she wasn't as successful in the United States, she's sold over 50 million records worldwide. Crazy. She's had number one hits all over the world. She's cracked that glass ceiling for all the women that followed. This is going to be a neat podcast because we discuss a lot of stuff. She's been speaking lately about her issues with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and why isn't she in there. The podcast has several tracks from her new record, No Control, plus a few surprises, even a couple of tracks that SUZI was surprised that I played for her, stuff she hasn't heard in years and years and years. I'm really glad you guys are here to listen to this podcast because it was a pleasure to do. So SUZI also has a feature-length documentary coming out in a few months, and that's going to be really exciting. Michelle and I do a little intro together to kind of let you guys know what it's all about. And then afterwards we do an autopsy of the interview just to kind of frame it and give some context. So I think we're going to start now. So I want everybody to just kind of relax, enjoy it. Try to listen to the music too. Don't skip over anything because I was surprised when I did this, and I hope you're going to be pleasantly surprised too. Thanks a lot and have a good time. I never know quite what to say. Over and out. 10-4, good buddy. Okay, have a good time. Blackheart Mafia, the podcast.
Well, I think ultimately, like you said, and it's not just recently, this has been going on for a couple of years.
It has.
Where we have been reading and we've been hearing on and off. You listen to something and you're like, wow, SUZI just said this and I don't like the tone.
Right.
I don't like SUZI saying, well, I am first and I need to be recognized, and it goes on and on. Then in the accumulation of all this is when you decided that, hey, maybe we should give SUZI an opportunity to really clarify these issues because this is getting out of hand. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame likes to focus on what I call a groundbreaking album. So that will be SUZI QUATRO's first album.
Absolutely, without question. You and I were talking about this recently. You gave me a whole great narrative that day. You said, picture it. It's 1973,
Yes.
And it was 1973. That's like 3 or 4 years before the Runaways even came to be. SUZI QUATRO is rocking her ass off on that album. I just listened to that the other day, and I'm thinking, wow, this is really something else for this to have come out in 1973. There was nothing like this before. And besides, when just the album itself, but when you see the video of the whole image, of her standing up front with that had to be intoxicating for Joan when she saw that. She was taking control.
Yeah.
And that just wasn't. Before that, it was like skirts and the Shirelles and the Dixie cups and all that. She was out there in a fucking leather jumpsuit standing at strike pose with a bass guitar. I mean,
well, that's the thing. It's almost like we could relate as a fan, because once upon a time we were the one holding a vinyl record in front of us. And in this case, it was Joan Jett. And you could imagine easily how it was Joan looking at SUZI.
Yep, I can do this. And there's something that's a larger conversation actually about why vinyl is important and why the sleeve is important. It's because it's something you hold on to, and you can get lost in a record cover, transport yourself. You can feel the texture of the paper and just everything. It's really, really exciting. And the way the design of the record label, SUZI QUATRO, I think that album, at least in the United States, was on Bell Records, and I love that record label. Kind of silver, and it had the bell on it with the lines at the top.
Oh no, I understand, because it's tangible.
Tangible. That's exactly what I mean. And there's no way to translate something like that into a streaming environment, which says even more about our whole society in general. Sometimes you can hold the rose without taking time to smell it.
True. I think, I know it's a generational thing. I know what a 45 looks like.
Yeah.
And what that yellow plastic thing. So when technology is taking away things that I could touch.
Reaching back and thinking about those days, that little yellow adapter in the middle. You couldn't, if you didn't have that, you were really in quite a fix.
Yeah. Well, you had the yellow ones, you had the nice little color ones. Yeah. I had even a professional adapter.
I have a metal one. You remember the big long posts before, when you could stack up a bunch of albums, and when each one played, the other one would drop down. Sometimes it never worked, but 2 or 3 would drop down and hang sideways, and then the needle would come across and bang into it, and what a mess. But they had the 45 adapter that was goes over the little metal thing, slides down over it, and that was mechanical too, and you could stack your 45s on that. But that's gone now. How do you do that with streaming? It's like there's no such thing as a record label anymore. Almost, it's weird. That used to mean something, but it really doesn't mean anything anymore.
Well, vinyl is coming back, and it already has.
It's more of a nostalgic way,
right? Even the Sony Walkman on tape. On cassette.
That was a miracle.
Yeah, that was a miracle.
Remember the first time you put Sony Walkman headphones on? It was like the birth of the universe. Exactly. It was unbelievable to listen to that. To listen to how music sounded when you put those headphones on. Nobody could possibly understand that. Do you remember supergroups in concert when Joan did that thing? It was on the radio. It was on the same stations that played the American Top 40. They had supergroups in concert. Some people got King Biscuit Flower Hour. We didn't get that where I lived. We got supergroups in concert. That was the first time a lot of us ever heard Joan live. Right. That was the first time I ever heard Joan live. And it was so amazing. My aunt wanted me to cut her grass, and so she would let me use her Walkman if I cut her grass. And I had a cassette tape of supergroups in concert, and I put it on, and I cut the grass, and it was like I was in heaven. So it was amazing. And then there's an ending to this story that's not really pretty. I lowered the lawnmower down, and at this time, Walkmans were it was like holding a Fabergé egg. They were so expensive, and it was the end and the beginning of everything. And so I pulled the lawnmower down to check underneath it or something. And when I let go, the bar that you hold on to flipped up and snatched the wires out of the headphone. Just boom, snatched them out. And I stood there, and I must have been 13 years old. And I stood there thinking, oh my God, it's like I've dropped a Fabergé egg into a garbage disposal is what it felt like. I didn't know what I was going to do. I started crying, and there's a lawnmower running. I'm crying, probably making grass angels on the ground, crying. And she came out, what's wrong? And I told her what happened, and I'm sobbing, and she took me in there. And my uncle at the time, he ended up taking the headphones apart and fixing them, but I just knew the world had ended. It was awful. I mean, snatched them right out. That was like, shink. I'm like, my God.
Blackheart Mafia, the podcast.
You don't get it, you can't hear it, you don't mean it. Down where the feelings go, you can't share it, you don't care it, you won't wear it. Down where the feelings go, down where the feelings go, down where the feelings go. Oh, macho man, you won't play the game. Macho man, you got yourself to blame. So take your ego trip and slide away. Macho man, you can't let it show. You don't like it, you won't say it, you just hide it. Down where your feelings go, I don't like it, I won't take it, you can't break it. Down where my feelings show, down where my feelings show, down where my feelings show. Wow, macho man, you won't play the game. Macho man, you got yourself to blame. So take your ego trip and slide away. Macho man, you can't let it, you can't let it, you can't let it. Wow! Macho man, get out of my life. Down where your feelings go. Macho man. Down where your feelings go. Oh yeah. Down where your feelings go, you can't take it. Oh yeah. Down where your feelings go.
All right. Macho Man from No Control. The new record from SUZI QUATRO. And guess who's joining us for Easter Sunday? You'll never believe it. It's SUZI QUATRO. She's coming for Easter. SUZI, are you there?
I am there. How you doing?
Doing great. It's such an honor to have you on the podcast.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, and happy Easter.
Thank you, and you too.
Well, thank you very much. It almost feels like family. I've grown up with your music. It's kind of surreal to speak with you. You're celebrating over 50 years in rock and roll. I mean, you're...
55.
55. I mean...
It's ridiculous.
It's insane. All right,
No.
you're a legend. You're the Genesis. You're the ceiling crusher, the barrier breaker. You're the WD-40 that got sprayed on the bolt, to get it loosened up. I mean, after
somebody had to start. Somebody had to start it. Somebody had to open the door, and I opened the door.
Well, how does that make you feel? You have to feel so honored to have been that person.
Yeah, to be honest, if I had calculated that, it wouldn't have happened.
Really?
It was a completely natural situation. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just sticking true to myself, which is what this album is all about.
Right.
Being who I was and hoping that there would be a place for me in the industry. I did not change. I did not try to be like this one or that one. I just was sticking to what I was. I knew it was difficult. I knew that there was no blueprint and I would be the first, but I didn't do it for that reason. I did it because I had to do it.
Right. I mean, it comes across completely organic. It was purely SUZI QUATRO, and there was no mistaking it. It's amazing that you are still out there kicking ass, not just like barely making it up the stairs. I'm talking you're up there kicking ass. You're kicking ass. You're touring. You just came back from the second leg of the Australian Red Hot Summer Tour. How did you like that?
That was great. I've done that 2 other times before. I'm the headliner in that. I couldn't do the first leg because I'd already done it twice. So it's the same places again, So
yeah.
They really wanted me to come back, so I did. But I came back from there and went straight to Bratislava, the Czech Republic. I had one night at home from an Australian tour. One night. And then I came back and started the publicity for the album. And then I just came back 2 days ago from my headlining arena tour in the UK. And then yesterday, I just finished with KT Tunstall in the studio for 3 days. So
did you really? What are you doing with KT?
Well, we're writing some stuff together. We've done 6 songs together.
That's fantastic.
We really hit it off, I didn't know she was a fan until I saw her pop up in my documentary.
Right.
She didn't know I was a fan, and we met and we just hit it off, and we decided to, write some songs together. So it's going great. She stayed over here. She came to the house. We were overnight. Then 2 days in the studio. So it's great. It's really great.
That had to be just fantastic. Her skills are so unique, and that had to be inspiring to work with someone that you've got that synergy going on. You know what I mean? Yeah,
it's the same kind of thing. It's so strange, how you meet people and you just connect. And she's got, she's a completely different style than me, but somehow when we write together, we kind of meet in the middle somewhere,
Well, you are a multi-dimensional artist.
Yeah, and I am multidimensional, and I'm the kind of person that refuses to be boxed. Do not box me.
You didn't compromise. I mean, you refused to be labeled. You refused to even be labeled gender-wise. You weren't running around saying, I'm a female in rock and roll. You were a person in rock and roll, and you stood right up to the guys.
Correct.
So,
I never once called myself ever a female musician.
Right.
I never said those words.
Hell, you were even singing I Want to Be Your Man. I mean, you wouldn't change the damn lyrics, and that was very, very smart. I mean, and let people wonder. That's mystique is missing nowadays. Everybody knows everything immediately.
I know it's too much.
Yeah, it is. It's a bit much, and it bothers me that kids think they have to have all these likes to be validated. Do you know what I mean?
No, it's not right. It's not right, and I think as wonderful as technology is, okay, I'll say it very simply. If people would put their mobile phones down,
right,
and walk along the street and look at the person who's approaching you, this is the whole lesson in life.
What a concept.
Yeah, technology where it should be used, don't let it take over your life. We need to communicate.
I've seen people sitting right beside each other texting.
Yes.
Oh my God, what?
And if I hear awesome or wonderful one more time, I'm going to shoot myself.
Oh my God. And they did that for a long time with everything rocked. This rocked, that rocked.
Oh God, please.
Give me a damn break. You don't know what rock is.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh gosh.
Anyway.
Okay, so we digress.
I am a communicator. That's who I am.
Everything. You have a communicator. And I discovered you And I didn't realize it till later on. But I didn't watch Happy Days, but my dad did. And all of a sudden, Leather Tuscadero bops up, and I was glued to the television. And my dad still remembers the moment. I was 7 years old, between 6 and 7, and I didn't move. It was you, and then the other thing I was all into was Wonder Woman. And I just didn't move. I was glued to the screen. I was mesmerized.
That's an interesting analogy.
Well, I mean, you know, it is, but it is kind of the same thing in a way. So SUZI in 1979 came through the U.S. and she played at a place called Paradise in Boston. This was August 14th of 1979. And there's a great recording of that show. And I'm going to play I've Never Been in Love from that show. It's the first track from that show.
Yeah, good track. Yeah, it's great. It was a really good gig.
The whole unit was so tight.
It was rock and roll.
You're a firecracker.
No control.
I think we are so far behind as a culture. We're behind other people. Let me just get to the point. You've had #1 hits in every single nook and cranny of the whole world.
Correct.
The whole world, even here. But the massive success with the #1s, the Can, 48 Christ, all that.
That didn't do it there. No,
What the hell's going on?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, really.
I don't know what happened on that. I think my record company boss put me on lots of different labels, so they didn't build up that longevity. Anyway, you know, it happened how it happened.
Yes,
I am. Everybody knows who I am.
Yes, they do.
Even Happy Days had to pave the way for things, you know, whatever.
Well, and they offered you a spinoff.
They
and
did.
You didn't take it because you didn't want to be boxed in once again.
That's my catchphrase.
There
My
you go.
catchphrase. Don't box me out. Even this new album, people are applauding the variety.
Well, let me tell you, you took me to the island with Love Isn't Fair. I don't
But you know what's funny about that song is people are loving it, and then the ones who are lyric people, they're going, "What are you saying?"
Not until they feel you, want you, really see you, need you. Love isn't fair.
Yeah, no, it's a happy beboppy song, but the lyric is a little more dark, and that's kind of what makes it interesting.
Yes, because love isn't fair. Love isn't fair.
No, it's not, but you might as well dance around because it just is that way.
Exactly. That's exactly what I mean.
That's just the truth. Now, speaking of that, let's just hear that track. That's a beautiful track, everyone. Love Isn't Fair, and this is on
No Control.
Nobody told me that love isn't fair. And when you hold me close, do you really care? Do you really care? Nobody warned me never to fall. Keep a little piece of your heart. Don't give it all. I gave it all. Love isn't fair. One heart's dying so one can live. Love isn't fair. Someone's taking what someone gives. And once you share, love's a battle you'll never win. Not until they feel you, want you, really see you, need you. Love isn't fair. Life is a journey of choices we made. I've always dared to love. You've been afraid. Don't be afraid. Love isn't fair. One heart's dying so one can live. Love isn't fair. Someone's taking what someone gives. And once you share, love's a battle you'll never win. Not until they feel you, want you, really see you, need you. Love isn't fair.
I love it that the bass drops down like that. I love that.
Boom. All right, Susie Q, love isn't fair, but we're saying screw it. It's just a fact of life, so we're going to have a margarita on the beach.
Absolutely. What else are you going to do?
You know what? You live, you learn, and you just realize you roll with the punches.
That's all you can do.
Just
Thank
kind
you.
of chatting about how beautiful that is and how it's a good, fun kind of song. It's also a good song to play after, it sounds like after you break up, instead of pitying and playing the victim, you put this track on and say, okay, love isn't fair. Let's dance around. Anyway, we know it's not fair, so just deal with it, right?
It's just the rules of life, I mean, 99.9% of the time, somebody loves and somebody is loved. That's how it is.
That's right. And it's not fair to one person or the other. And it's always that way, just about.
It's always that way.
Yeah, when it's not, it's providential. When it's not, you get lucky, and that's when you're lucky. But most of the time, it's not. You got to go through that till you get to that one person. You have a wonderful German marriage.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've been together 25 years now. You know what? I was 43 when I met him, and that's kind of old take on a new language. I have to say, it doesn't go in so easy. German. He's always spoke German to me.
I took German in high school, and all I remember is Ich lerne Deutsch auf dem Schule. That's all I remember, and I took 4 years of it.
Yeah, but how can you want to learn a language that I love you is Ich liebe dich?
I know. It's like you have to spit on someone to tell them you love them.
But maybe that's what it's all about.
It's no, right? Ich liebe dich. Oh, I mean, okay, and I want to talk a little bit about the process of making the record. I know you worked on this record with a special someone, and that must have been interesting for that special someone to meet the studio SUZI QUATRO, the working SUZI QUATRO. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, my son, he is a fine guitar player. He's wanted to write with me for a long time. I just never felt it was the right time until he came to me about 6 months ago. And then he came to me and said, I need to write with you. I went,
wow.
Oh, so he was really ready. And he showed me a little riff, you know, and it was what became Don't Do Me Wrong.
Oh, good.
And I said, okay, Richard, you know what? I can work with this. I like this. And we started to write it. And we went in and we demoed it along with 2 demos that KT and had written together.
Oh, cool.
And then we did another song called The Bassline. That was a demo.
Yes, it's on here too.
Yeah. Then by the time the 3rd demo started, I actually turned to Richard in the studio and I said, hey, you know what? We're making a serious album. Yeah. And we all looked at each other. We went, oh, my God, we are. And I said, okay, now that we know this is a serious album, the only rule I'm making is it has to be organic. I do not want any song written for any reason other than the song has to be written. And whatever the style of that song is, that's what it is. There are no rules. Right. There are no regulation. It is organic and natural. And this is what you're hearing on this album.
That's right.
Exactly. It's natural.
You know, it's to the point now where that's so important in music because every damn song on the radio is some crap where it's featuring this, that, or the other. I'm so sick of it. I can't even listen to music anymore. I'm just sick of it.
It drives me crazy. That's why this album is a breath of fresh air. It is. And it came out exactly that way. You know, I mean, whoever thought this Calypso one was going to go on, but it came out.
This album has grown on me over the past couple of weeks. You play it and you just kind of pick up a little more here and there. And then I'm dancing around the kitchen with a spatula, you know, and I'm like, well, this is pretty fantastic.
You can dive into this album. I would say Strings is up in my top 3 of things that it's just such an unusual. I don't know where it came from. But there it was.
It's almost like you took a bridge of a song, and the bridge created the whole song.
Yeah, I kept saying while I was writing it with Richard, I kept going, strings. And he said, why do you keep doing that, Mom? I said, I don't know, but it's important. Strings. And we put it down on the studio, and I said to the engineer, strings. They both said, we got it. But it's what you remember.
You can't ignore that stuff. Once you finally grow up a little bit, you learn that when you hear things like that, it's for a reason.
Yes, it is.
You know? It's got to pop out of your mouth because that's creativity. Hold on. I think I'm going to plug in strings right here.
Oh, that's a good idea.
This is strings. Strings. Strings.
It is strings.
SUZI QUATRO's new record. This is strings. No control.
Everybody tries to slide down slowly. Everybody tries to pay the wrong way. Take it slowly to that space called sadness. Make it lonely to the edge of the day. Everybody hits that highway running.
it. You're doing it. You're going strings.
That's my back and forth. I mean, you're playing off the instruments. That's
And I'll tell you the funny thing about that is because, I have a horn section on stage.
Yes.
And I was playing my sax man who's been with me for 25 years. I was playing him the 4 tracks I wanted him to do a horn arrangement on. And then I said, I want to play this one, Ray. I said, you're going to love this. Everybody's picking this out. And I played him strings, not one for a horn arrangement. And he said, Susie, can I do a horn arrangement? This one? Really? And he said, yes. And he said, I'll tell you what, you look very doubtful. He said, let me do a horn arrangement. And if you don't like it, you don't pay me for the arrangement. I thought, oh, my God.
like, that's not how it'd be anyway.
No,
Yeah.
you have to let him do it.
Oh, sure. You can't say no to that.
And then he put it on in the studio, and he blew me away.
It's so fat with that in there.
I didn't hear it. There you go. He heard it right away. And I gave it to him, and he came back. I said, okay, I was wrong. You were right. Here's your money.
We just heard strings. We just heard the story about that. What an epic song that is. I can't get over the modulation there. It just went up, and it kept going up, and it's still going up, and I thought my head was going to explode.
And there's, I don't know if you have it on the album there, but on the vinyl of this album, there's 2 bonus tracks on the vinyl only, and the 2 unplugged tracks. One, I did one cover, Bob Dylan's Leopard Skin Pillbox. I'm a fanatic on him. And the other one is called Heart on the Line, which I wrote myself. It's one of the 3 I wrote myself without my son. And I showed my son, I was playing the guitar in the front room, and I said, okay, listen to this, and I want this. And I showed my son this record, this song on guitar. And I said, I want a power chord here and a power chord here and a power chord. And he said, nope. I said, what do you mean, nope? And he said, you know how beautiful that song is with just you singing it on guitar. And I still didn't believe him. We got in the studio. I put it down. I put down a vocal, and I went, oh, my God, you're right. And
Well, see, there you go. There's your son guiding SUZI.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, taking you to where you really needed to go, you know?
Well, I come back home and I unpack my suitcase.
We are with the legend, the glass ceiling crusher, SUZI QUATRO. Let me tell you just a little story. Remember I told you I was reintroduced to you after I discovered the record Rock Hard. And I guess it was 14 maybe. And I was just mesmerized all over again. I was listening to that, thinking how incredible it was. I loved every single track on it. I thought it was 1980, right?
It was, 1980, correct.
Okay, so that's 1980, and that record's out. That's still way ahead of its time. That record.
I think so.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there was Times Square. How did that come about? Because, there's a cult following of that movie. I love that movie. I think it's fantastic. That song was pretty much wrapped around the whole movie.
Yeah, and it was the favorite song. I think they approached Mike Chapman, and he said, we have to do this, and I'm going to do it with SUZI QUATRO, and it's going to be called Rock Hard.
What you need to
Mike wanted to create. We all said we're going to do exactly like we did in the first recordings. We had the same engineer. We had the band in the studio. No, it was totally organic. We wanted to recreate that attitude.
And it did. It sounded like a modern version of the first record, the 48 Crash Can to Can, the SUZI QUATRO record.
Correct.
Yeah, and it was amazing to me. So I was reintroduced with that. And then through that, I started discovering your huge body of work. I can imagine how it must feel being the queen, someone that was so inspired by you, and they have such success. I can imagine that there's no better feeling in the world. And I want to know how you feel about that.
Well, I think it's fantastic. I said when I first started to have success, I said within 6 or 7 years, other women are going to walk through this door that I've opened, which is fantastic. I have been thanked by everybody in the industry, every woman. And I just want to quote something that Mike Chapman said. Not me. This is not me. Mike Chapman said this on my documentary. He said, every girl that came after me has something to thank me for.
I want to know about Joan Jett, and I want to know how you feel about that, really, because there's people saying this, people saying that, and there's no way in the world I'm going to believe that you have a problem with someone with that seed that they got from you, planting that seed inside of them and blossoming into something completely different than you, but being completely inspired by you.
Yeah, it is completely different.
Tell me about that.
I have no problem with Joan at all. I've known her for many, many years. I just love her to pieces. And she took the original, the very beginning of what I did, and ran with that. And God bless her. We all of us artists get inspired from somebody or somewhere. You know, that's how it works. So and she made a great success out of it. I'm very proud of her. The only person I have a problem with is the actual organization of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, because I think that how can you not do the original? You know, how can you not honor the original? I make them wrong. I've said so publicly. I don't begrudge Joan. She deserves to be in there. She's a great artist.
Well, do you think maybe it's because, for whatever reason, the difference in success from the United States?
I can't figure it out. I don't want to figure it out. All I say openly is that it's wrong. And they pride themselves on honoring the people with the right reasons. Well, I'm sorry, but they got it wrong.
It's wrong that only 7% is female.
It's crazy.
That's insane.
Crazy.
Absolutely insane.
You know, I am in history books for being the first one to do what I did.
Yes, you are.
That kind of organization should at the very least be honoring that, don't you think? I do not begrudge anybody who's
good, because I want to make that clear. This is very important to me.
I love Joan. I've always liked her. We always have got along. We have no problems between us. I have a problem with the organization itself. Nothing to do with Joan whatsoever.
I can put myself figuratively I can think, okay, this doesn't seem fair. You know, that had to be frustrating.
Yeah,
how could it not be frustrating?
Go on record. I love her. Always have done. I have no problem with her whatsoever. I love Joan. She's even in a documentary, you know, so there's nobody can stir up any animosity between the two of us. My problem is with the organization.
I feel like you should never in your life have to say those words, but it should go without saying.
Thank you.
I love you.
Love you too.
SUZI, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's rock and roll.
Well, you thought you got an angel, but I tell you, it just ain't so. This cherub-looking mama ain't no baby, don't you know? Oh, when you touch me, you set me aglow. And when I'm in your arms, I really don't wanna go. Yeah, where you can make me want you, but I ain't gonna love you. Ain't gonna be the one at home. What if I stay all night? I'm gonna get inside of your head. Wow, yeah, well, you can make me want you, but I ain't gonna love you. Ain't gonna be the one at home waiting for you. I feel the rhythm, but I'm never gonna feel the pain. Just like the rain is falling, tears fall from my eyes. You know the way you feel for me came as no surprise. Oh, I guess I've been moving on. 'Cause another lover's arms are waiting for me to call. Yeah, oh yeah, well you can make me want you, but I ain't gonna love you. Ain't gonna be the one at home waiting for you. I feel the rhythm, but I'm never gonna feel the pain. I feel the rhythm, but I'm never gonna feel the pain.
Blackheart Mafia, the podcast. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah,
This is fantastic. Okay,
Well,
we're going to hear this. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Hey.
Nobody told me love isn't fair. And then you held me close. Do you really care? Nobody wants you.
Blackheart Mafia, the podcast.
To be honest, I think I sense a change of tone in you
Really?
after the interview.
Okay. Tell me what you mean.
So I felt that the interview went very well, and that it sort of put to rest what you felt about SUZI earlier.
It did. People have different personality types. Some people have no problem and lean towards more of a self-promoting kind of personality, and some people are more humble in their delivery. And sometimes those two clash because as Joan Jett fans, number one, we get used to Joan's humble. It's hard for her to say anything, I broke the glass ceiling or whatever. You never hear her say that. I mean, she can't take credit for anything, and she lets other people give her the credit. Different personality styles, and we get used to the Joan Jett personality style, so it's weird for us to hear the style of SUZI. But that doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's different.
Right.
So that's kind of what I came away from the interview feeling, and more of a camaraderie with her because, like I said, I've always been a fan. They're completely different artists, and it is, I think, but that's what we all do. We take what we love about people that we see and experience, and we incorporate that into our personalities. That's what we all do. You know, Joan Jett is Joan Jett, and things fall into place in life, and things happen. And I guess another lesson I come out of is that sometimes just enjoy the magic.
Correct. Well, it's also personal.
It is. It is personal. Not everything needs to be on the front burner.
Yeah, and I think everyone that is a fan for Joan, and definitely a fan also for SUZI, will have to make up their own mind.
Right.
I know it clarifies for me, it made me feel different about SUZI.
That's good.
And it made me think about, I'm going like, wait a second, let me not be too judgmental towards SUZI's reaction all the time, although I'm not always happy when she says certain things.
Yeah.
Because I cannot help but to take it personal. But I have to see the outside influences and all that. And so when I push them aside and I'm going like, okay, why does Michael have a different response rather than someone else that was asking almost identical questions? And I'm going like, well, the response is because Michael took some time to care about what he's talking about.
Right.
He cares about the topic. He cares about what's going on and how someone as a human being has to respond back to it if you leave them alone enough to give an honest answer.
Yeah, like if you're not cornering a dog,
right,
jabbing at them with a question,
right,
maybe you won't get bit.
Right.
So, I mean, I think that you're right, and that's good to hear. So I think that I
think so.
I came away from it having a new respect for her, actually. I had a new respect for her, and I was very pleased that she had a side of her that was able to kind of cut up and joke a little bit and laugh. And
right. So like Joan says, this was a brand new, fresh start.
It was, yeah. It's a fresh start.